All right, well, welcome back to our series, Helpless, when the culture of self-help hurts. We've been going through a number of different mantras here in this series, and I hope that you're enjoying it. We're kind of looking at some things that are popular in culture, sayings that people tend to repeat over and over again, but maybe not thinking about the full implications of them. In the first week, Pastor Wade talked about live your truth. This is something we hear a lot, and Pastor Wade talked about the goods and the bads that are connected with that saying. In the second week, I talked about I am enough. Not today's message, Wade, who mentioned that earlier. But we'll get to the actual title for today. I am enough was the second week. And then last week, Pastor Eric talked about don't care what others think. Pastor Wade, don't care what other people think when you screw up. Right? No, don't care what others think. And Eric talked about that last week. And there's good parts of that, and then there's other parts that are like, well, no, that's not a complete, truthful statement. And a lot of these mantras, they sound good, but they are at least partially misleading. Some of them very misleading, but they're at least partially misleading. Now, we want to repeat the fact that we're not all down on self-help. We appreciate self-help, and we take a look at these things. We just want to help uncover the potential pitfalls that can be there in some of these statements. Pastor Wade in the first week uncovered 3 foundational problems with self-help, and I want to keep coming back to these because I think they're really helpful in helping us see what's really, potentially wrong with the things that we're looking at and some of these sayings that we latch onto. First of all, it focuses on the self. And to an extreme, these things are really all about the self and tend to lose the perspective of, maybe God and other people here. It's just all about me. Secondly, it focuses, or it rather buys into the myth of control, that somehow we can be in control of everything. And thirdly, it often leaves God out of the picture. And I would say that today's mantra definitely checks all 3 of these boxes. And here it is: you deserve the life you want. That's the mantra we're looking at today. And I'd like to discuss a number of different thoughts in relation to this statement. And I'm not going to be completely linear today. In fact, this is going to be kind of maybe a little more lecture style, where we're going to loop around and just follow some rabbit trails. I promise we'll keep coming back to the theme, but I want you just to follow me and just kind of, engage in a few different thoughts, and we'll loop back to the theme each time. The first thing that I want to say about this mantra, you deserve the life you want, is that the word deserve is a dangerous word. I really believe it's a dangerous word. As children, I remember my brothers and I were taught to basically remove this word from our vocabulary. And I don't know how many of you, when you were kids, maybe had your parents do the same thing. We were kind of taught that the moment that you think that you deserve something, you're really putting yourself on a path for getting less in life. I remember our parents kind of drilling this into us. You don't deserve anything. You can work for things. I love the hashtag that we attached to this week, and Pastor Merrick helped us with this, but it's that word entitlement, right? Entitled. And that's really what we're talking about here when we talk about deserving. When you think that you deserve something, typically what you do then is you sit back and you wait for it to come to you, right? It's like, well, this is mine. I'm just going to sit and wait for it. I deserve it. Now, on the flip side, sometimes we also think that we don't deserve certain things. And this also can be a problem. I remember as kids, one of the things that we experienced growing up, myself and my brothers, was that when we lived in New Brunswick at a certain point, we didn't have a lot of money. And so one of the things that we did was we went out behind the potato harvesters and actually gleaned potatoes. So we would go out with bags, and we would, after the harvesters went, they would allow you to go on the fields, and we would find the leftover potatoes that the harvesters didn't get, and we'd put them in bags, and we'd take them home. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know anybody else that really does this. Maybe some other people, in the trailer park where we lived at that time, but really, this isn't something that people do. Why do I deserve this? I remember that thought going through my head. Why do I deserve this? Well, the do deserve or the don't deserve, either way, it's very dangerous kind of language. It's much more helpful, I find, to teach children that life is full of opportunities, and that if you work hard, you can increase your chances of enjoying the good things that there are in life. But when we talk about deserving, it really doesn't set children up well. Life teaches us that good things don't come easily. Have you discovered this? You have to work for good things. The Proverbs talk a lot about this. And I was raised on the Proverbs. I love the Proverbs. Look at what it says in Proverbs 13. A sluggard's appetite is never filled, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. I love that word diligent, right? You have to work at it. Proverbs 14:23 says, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. I like that. All hard work leads to some kind of profit. You may not get the profit you want. It may not be as much as you want, but there's going to be some profit there. It may not be money, in the form of money. It may be in some other form, but you're going to benefit if you work hard at something. The Proverbs, of course, are general principles that tend to be proven true, and I think that we need to get back to teaching those to our kids. So many of our kids have been brought up to think that the world owes them something, that they're entitled to something, when we really need to teach them that the world's full of opportunity, but you have to be ready to work for it. So I'm starting today simply by saying this word deserve is a dangerous word, right? I also want to talk today about the selfishness of this mantra. We've explained that all of these self-help mantras focus on the self and tend to overemphasize the self. Jesus and the New Testament writers were actually very strong in emphasizing the importance of valuing others at the same level as ourselves. Think about the things that Jesus taught. Matthew chapter 22, when asked what was the greatest commandment, right? He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then he says in chapter 22, verse 39, love your neighbor as yourself. And so this idea of treating others as you want to be treated, treating them equal with yourself, was an idea that Jesus really introduced. In Philippians chapter 2, the Apostle Paul, he carries on that thought, as did the other apostles. He said, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. And so we read these kinds of verses in our Bibles, and to us today, they seem like such common knowledge. But what you need to understand is if you actually go back in history, you see the time of Jesus and the time of the apostles, this was actually radical new thinking. This was completely different from the way that generations and generations of people thought up until that point. Here's a fact, guys. The dominant thinking in the world today about the equality of human beings is the direct result of the teachings of Jesus. Now, you may not be aware of that, but this is just factually true. The way that we enjoy things, especially in the Western world today, and the freedoms that we have, and the beliefs in equality and human rights, this comes from the teachings of Jesus. And every student of world history knows this. When they dig into it and they uncover where did these ideas come from, they see very clearly this is where it comes from. Up until the time of Christ, the well-entrenched belief world over was that people were born into various levels of worth. You were just born into it. You were born as a slave or a serf or a peasant or maybe a noble if you were lucky. And this was the way life was. You were born into that class and you never moved out of it. Even the great Greek philosophers argued in the same way. But look at this quote here by Larry Seidentop. He's an Oxford scholar. He says, the usual bias continued to be that of Aristotle, who insisted that some are free men and others are slaves by nature, he said. The contrast between barbarians and citizens was extreme. The usual presumption remained one in favor of inequality. By contrast, Christian insistence on the equality of souls in the eyes of God reversed that presumption. This is Larry Seidentop, this renowned Oxford scholar who studied out the whole history of how we got to the freedoms that we have today. He wrote this book, Inventing the Individual, The Origins of Western Liberalism. It's an amazing book, and he really understands and shows very clearly how the teachings of Jesus changed the entire world. The West has excelled and led the entire world in the development of human rights because of these Christian values. And guys, we are the benefactors of this. We take it so for granted, but when we look around at other parts of the world, we recognize, wow, what a heritage we've been given. Living in a society whose laws reflect these kinds of values. Now, I need to say, recent events definitely show that we have a lot of work to do in making these beliefs personal for all of us. And we need to continue to work at this. But thankfully, guys, we have a foundation in place that supports where we need to get to with this. And it actually gives me hope because we have such a good foundation. And that was handed to us by Christ. But I want you to think about this mantra today, guys. You deserve the life that you want. And I want you to think about this in the context of equality that we've just been talking about. Think about this mantra in the context of equality. The mantra is stated so absolutely, it completely overlooks the fact that the life that I want may require you not getting the life that you want. Have you ever thought about this? Right? I deserve the life that I want, but do you deserve the life that you want? And what happens if those things contradict? Let me ask you this. Does Jeffrey Epstein deserve to have sex with underage girls? That was the life that he wanted. Does he deserve that? Does a woman deserve to leave her husband for him to raise their 3 children because she wants to discover herself? Do I deserve to buy a pair of Nike shoes at $75 when the one who made them is getting paid pennies and probably a child? See, these are the problems when you start looking at, this is the life that I want, I deserve the life that I want, is that it forgets all about all of the other people in the equation. What I'm trying to show you here, guys, is that this mantra is completely, inherently selfish. It really is. You say, yes, but the life that I want doesn't need to hurt other people, like these examples that you've given. What if I'm just living the life that I want but not hurting other people? Guys, that doesn't change the fact that it is still completely selfish at its root. What if, just consider this, what if you were actually put here on earth to do good for others and to bless others? What if that's actually your purpose? But all you're doing is focusing on yourself and what you want. Let me ask you this question. Doesn't the parent of a handicapped child deserve to live the life that they want to live? Don't they? Because I can tell you, I know many of them, and they're not necessarily living the life that they envisioned, the life that they wanted. I'm blessed to know many people, including many here at Renew, who have literally given their lives to improve the life of those less fortunate. And they inspire me. I want you to know that. They inspire me to no end. Their lives shine brightly. It's almost like when I envision this in my mind, it's almost like I see their life as like giving the middle finger to this selfish mantra. It's like, no, there's a greater purpose for why I'm here. The Bible teaches that you were made for so much more than just selfish pursuits. In Ephesians chapter 2, it says in the Living Bible, it says, "It is God himself who has made us what we are and given us new lives from Christ Jesus. And long ages ago, he planned that we would spend these lives in helping others." That is why you're here, guys. You're here not just to focus on your own life. You're here to focus on the lives of others and to improve the lot of other people around you. Every serious psychologist knows that people find true satisfaction in helping others. And so let me give you a little warning here. This is a very important warning. Take a look. The warning is this: following today's mantra will short-circuit your opportunity for fulfillment. So as you're pursuing the fulfillment that you want, understand, if you follow this mantra that you deserve the life that you want and you actually go after that, you will actually be short-circuiting your possibility of having true fulfillment. It sounds, counterintuitive. It is counterintuitive, but it's true. You will short-circuit it. Well, I also want to talk today about how this mantra contradicts popular belief. And this is an important aspect of this mantra to consider. You see, sayings like this really expose the inconsistencies of the popular beliefs of our day. For example, the popular belief of our day, as it is taught in every school at every level, is that the universe came into existence by chance and that we're all the product of this randomness. You've been taught this somewhere along the way. In conjunction with this belief is the idea that the fittest survive and reproduce, and that is how animals, including humans, evolve and get better. These are the ideas that we have been taught to believe. In this kind of a scenario, let me ask you this question. How can anyone really say that anyone deserves anything? If it all happened randomly, right? How can anybody say that anyone really deserves anything? You see, without an overarching authority, we sometimes call that authority God, right? Defining what is truly meaningful or valuable, well, any attempt at this is sort of just a game, right? We're just making stuff up and trying to get people to adhere to it. That's really all you're doing. If life is truly just random, the best that you can do is just construct something and try to get people to play along with it. In a random universe with no superintending direction, who can really say that anyone deserves anything? Blogger Natasha Crane wrote a great post a few weeks ago. After George Floyd's death, she called for justice and also reminded all of her readers that this moment in history should cause all of us to remember that it is God who makes all of our lives valuable. I want you to listen to what she said here, and I'll put it on the board. Take a look. This is really powerful. She says, if God doesn't exist, the universe came into existence by chance, the first living cell developed from non-living matter by chance, and all living things are the eventual product of the blind, undirected process of evolution. In such a case, human life is no more valuable than dust, and there is no basis for saying that any life matters. Only if there is an author of life who creates and imbues us with a meaning greater than our physical parts can lives actually matter, and in an equal way. Guys, I love this. This is a very powerful and accurate statement. Notice what she says there. She says, without God, quote, human life is no more valuable than dust. And guys, she's right. She's right. See, we talk today about human rights. Like, this is a popular thing in the world today, and in Canada particularly. We're big on human rights. But let me ask you, what does any human being really deserve? How do you define that? You're just an amoeba. You're just an amoeba that showed up on the third rock from the sun. Who says you have the right to anything? And if you're someone who thinks that you deserve something, anything, you can't also hold on to the narrative that life is totally by chance. Do you see where I'm going with this? I'm saying that the beliefs of our society today are inconsistent. You can't hold both of those. Now, you can still hold on to the notion of survival of the fittest while you believe in this, you deserve the life that you want. In fact, if there is no God, we should play our part in the evolutionary process and do whatever it takes to live on top of the heap. That's really what survival of the fittest teaches us. We should cheat, steal, lie, and subjugate other people if we want to, in order to stay on top. That's survival of the fittest. If you believe this mantra that you deserve the life that you want, and you cheat, and you lie, and you steal, and you subjugate other people, guess what? I actually at least respect the fact that you're consistent in your beliefs. Well, all of this is sort of depressing, isn't it? It's pretty depressing. Like, where is the truth in this whole discussion? Do we deserve anything, or do we not deserve anything? What's the truth here? Well, I want to talk to you about some good news. See, the Bible teaches that God actually made humans in His image. We are made in the image of God. I love how the Message translates this. Genesis chapter 1, it says, God created human beings. He created them godlike. That's what it means to be created in His image. We have something in us that is like God Himself. Reflecting God's nature, He created them male and female. God blessed them. Prosper, reproduce, fill earth, take charge, God said. Guys, this is where our value comes from. It is imbued by God Himself. We have been made in God's image, blessed by Him, and made partners of His in this world. What amazing value God has given to us, His creation. Now note this, guys. The reason why this word deserves resonates with us so much in a mantra like we read today is because down deep we all know that we are valuable. We do know that we're valuable. We understand that we're special. Like, we look at our bodies and we say, this is incredible how God made us, the capacity that we have, and we know that we have the power of thought and the power of imagination and all of these things. We understand that we have value. But here's the thing, when we sinned, we became deserving of something opposite than what God intended for us and what He made us for. The Bible says in Romans chapter 6 that the wages of sin is death. In Romans chapter 1, it says those who do such things, after it lists all of these different sins that mankind falls back into so naturally, after it lists all those, it says those who do such things deserve death. And so if we're talking today about what we deserve, the Bible actually says because of our sin, that's all we really deserve. God is holy. He's perfect. When we sin, we turned our back on Him. We became corrupted. And in His holy, perfect presence. We can't even stand there. Guys, while we're on the subject of what we deserve, let's not miss this fact, that our sin makes us worthy of actual death in God's eyes because of his perfect holiness. But here's the thing. The Bible says when God saw us in our sin, he actually looked at us and he saw his own image in us, and it made us worth redeeming. He's like, no, they've messed up, but they're made in my image. I'm not just going to throw this away and cast it off. I'm going to redeem this. Guys, the Bible says that Christ came to redeem us. And when we receive him, we go from deserving death to receiving grace. And this is an amazing word because grace actually means undeserved favor. There's that word again, deserve. Grace is something good that God gives you that you don't deserve. And so note this, guys. As Christians, we should talk a lot more about what we don't deserve than what we deserve. Take note of this. This is great. Hold on to this. We should talk a lot more about what we don't deserve than what we do deserve. And I'm talking here about things like life, like love, a second chance, a place in God's own family, the blessings that he pours down upon us. Guys, that's grace, and that is good news. God chooses not to give us the bad things that we deserve. God chooses to give us great things that we don't deserve. Now, as I want to wrap up this talk here this morning, my conclusion is a little note on self-actualization, and I want to kind of leave you with a few thoughts here. You know, they say that your success will eventually become your downfall, and I think that we're really seeing that in the West today, particularly here in North America. The teachings of Jesus that led to Western liberalism, that led to the ascent of the individual and the value of all human beings and great human rights and all of this, they've gone to an extreme now here in our society. We've developed a sense of entitlement, and that's why we come up with statements like this, I deserve the life that I want. We've even bought into the idea that we should all self-actualize. In other words, reach our highest potential and fulfillment. This idea of self-actualization is one that psychologists have talked about for some time, that after you get all of your basic needs taken care of, that, you know, at a certain point you can self-actualize. You can reach your full potential and just blossom as a person. Guys, we need to be very careful. This is how the people in the world with the most end up hating their life the most. This is how people become bitter when life doesn't turn out just the way that they wanted. With great opportunity, right, there's a dark side to this. I'll never forget the first time that I visited Haiti. And I'll show you a little picture here. This is what it looked like when I visited the first time. It was just months after the earthquake hit in 2010. And as we toured around Port-au-Prince, this was what met our eyes. I had never been in a place like this in my life. The chaos and the destruction and the stench was incredible. I had gone with my oldest son, Jacob, and I was telling someone this week about this experience that I had when I went to Haiti for the first time, about just being in the middle of that city. I actually got sick on this trip, and I was there sick in the middle of this city, and I was throwing up in a porta potty in the middle of this environment. And I remember just the sense of hopelessness overwhelming me to the point where the thought actually came into my mind, I think I'm in hell. That's literally the thought that came into my mind. And I was telling this person this week as I recounted the story that when I was there on that trip, I can speak French, and so I was able to speak with the young people that got to the age where they were learning French in school. And I was talking to a middle school age young person, and he came up to me in very good French. He asked me this question. He says, why were you born in paradise while I was born in hell? And I'm pretty good with words. It's what I do for a living. I talk. And I had nothing. I had nothing to give this kid. Now, I could have started talking to him about the love of God and so on, and we did that week, but in that moment, the power of what he was saying I actually remember the moment because you spend a lot of the time that you were there working with kids and encouraging them and playing games and stuff with them. And I remember I started talking to them like I would talk to kids as if I was talking to kids here in Canada. And I remember starting to ask one of them, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And I couldn't finish the sentence. I caught myself and said, you idiot. Like, what are the options? Oh, I want to get pregnant when I'm 13. That's what I'm hoping for, right? I'm hoping that I'll be able to eat. I'm hoping someday that, I'll have a roof over my head instead of living in the stick shack that you see over there. These were the kinds of things that they had to look forward to. I remember when I got home from that trip, just being in the kitchen and eating food with my kids, and when they wouldn't finish their whole plate, I'd break into this rage, and my wife looked at me like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? And I remember just thinking, it's so wrong that we waste anything when so many people have nothing. And then I remember shortly after that, when I settled down a little bit, I don't know if it was on the radio or television or where it was, but I remember hearing some self-help guru talking about self-actualization, and I almost wanted to puke. And I thought, who's talking to the people in Haiti about self-actualization right now? Right? Wow, yeah, Haitians, you should self-actualize. You should reach your fullest potential and feel totally fulfilled in your life. Like, who's talking to them about that? It's such a self-absorbed idea. The idea that I should be 100% fulfilled while others can't even get enough food to eat just didn't even compute in my head. And so, guys, I want to tell you this morning. It's really important to differentiate between blessings and entitlements. They are not the same thing. And you better get this clear or you're going to have a miserable life. Entitlements versus blessings. Let me give you a new narrative for you to latch on to here. As opposed to you deserve the life that you want, think about some of these statements. The Bible actually teaches, I deserve death. God has given me life. God has blessed me in the ways that He's chosen. He doesn't bless us all the same way, but He has given all of us blessings. And the blessings I've received should lead me to bless others. And guys, if you could latch on to this kind of a narrative, wow, your life would totally transform. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, the New Living Translation, it says, Christ died for everyone so that those who receive His new life will no longer live for themselves. Instead, they will live for Christ who died and was raised for them. What does the Bible teach us about living for Jesus? What does that mean? Jesus taught that we live for Him when we serve the least of His children. That's what the Bible teaches. That is a truly fulfilling life. So guys, for my grand finale, if you still think that you deserve the life that you want, if you still think that's a great mantra, let me leave you with one other thing that Jesus actually said repeatedly in His ministry. At least 6 times clearly in the New Testament we see this. This was something He taught all of the time. And let me just quote it for you. Matthew chapter 16, Jesus said, For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it.